Hey church, we're so grateful that you're joining with us online this Sunday and that we can't meet in person. We're not seeing face to face. I believe that God is right there with you no matter where you are. And some of you may not remember, some of you are new to our church, but this time last year, I was actually standing in front of a camera recording a message in this very space. It still had cubicles and carpet, and it looked completely different than it does now. But I began to really share my heart of what God had put for our church in 2024, that 2024 is going to be a year of accelerating. And all the work that God had been doing over the life of our church in just this short amount of time, that he was going to make this a year of propelling us forward. And I really believe that we've seen that in our church this past year. And really the thing, though, is that it's not just about a building. It's not just that we have a place to call our own, but it's really about us getting the heart for our community and moving forward in seeking our neighbors and our friends and our coworkers and reaching them with the hope of the gospel. And so it's been such a fun year. It's been a crazy year. It's been a busy year, but we can look back and we can see over and over again the faithfulness of God. And so today we thought it would be fun for us to gather here with some of our staff, some of our leaders who are bringing their own perspective, their own part in what they've been able to see God do in their ministry, in their area, through many of your stories that they've gotten to witness firsthand. And today we want to just make a day of celebrating. So often in Scripture, you know, God would tell people, build a stone, build a monument, set up a memory here so that generation after generation can remember and attest to the faithfulness that I've demonstrated to you. And so today, we want to do just that. We want to talk and celebrate about the church that God has called us each to be a part of. And we're going to share some memories. We're going to talk about some stories. We're going to get to reminisce on some things, but really celebrate and give God praise. And for me, I know one of those, as I'm sitting here in this lobby and looking around our church, I still walk in and walk out, and I'm just humbled and amazed. And this year, I want to just shout out some people who came and gave their time and their sweat, some of them their blood, into making this facility what it is now. And I just even remember being in the lobby and we were ripping up carpet and we had the scissor lift attached and we were yanking up carpet, and shout out to Josh and Jacob and Scott and all these guys that they were coming, and Jim, that we were just like giving Saturday after Saturday. But I remember standing there in the lobby, and it didn't look anything like it does now. And it didn't feel like it does now. And it wasn't as pretty, and we were hot and we were sweaty, but just talking about this is going to be a place that God's going to move. And I think we've seen that, even in just these last few months, that we've seen God move in incredible ways. And I remember, we got to have a prayer gathering here, and it was still in construction under, all sorts of different circumstances. We were still here with maybe not the right lighting and no flooring and all that kind of stuff. But it was such a special, I think, night for us as a church, being able to have our first event here.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments of the whole year was during one of those prayer gatherings. It was the building. It looked like this in the lobby, but not anywhere nice. And it was just like the foundation of the walls were up, but you could see through all the rooms. And it was just like this construction zone site. And we had this, so many things just around. And we had this time of just prayer and worship here in the lobby, and it was awesome. And then afterwards, we all went into what's now the auditorium, and we wrote scripture and prayers on the foundation of the walls. And it was just such a powerful time of coming together in vision for what we are expectant, and just seeing God, that what he's going to do in the future. And now we're living in that, which is really cool, just to look back on even just the things that I remember writing and praying into, and that I'm seeing now just in our church, which is really cool to see. And I think when I look back over those couple months of transition into the building, I just remember a sense of unity and family with everyone in the church. There were so many people surrendering their time to be here. There was so much just coming together and excitement, and also what's going to happen sort of thing. And it just was a really exciting time.
Yeah. I actually went back a couple of days ago, and I was looking at the pictures of the verses that people had written on the wall. And I think it's cool that we forget about on a Sunday morning, that's there.
Yeah.
That we have prayers and scriptures that people took the time to write in that moment, which is really
so
cool.
I know one of the things that I wrote on the wall was my prayer was to see revival and awakening in our next generation. And I'm still praying for that and believing that that's going to happen in our community, in our church. But even over the past year, it's been amazing to see the growth and the ways that God is just completely changing lives in our next gen here at Keystone.
So many kids.
Yeah. We've seen growth in numbers, but I know one of the amazing things has been baptisms. Not just in our next generation, obviously, but in adults, everybody here at Keystone. But we had 12 elementary kids get baptized this year and 9 students, which is
Two of those are my kids,
yeah.
which is really cool.
Which is something so incredible to celebrate. And one of the stories that comes from within those baptisms is one of our high school girls who she started coming probably closer to the beginning of our launch, but this past year, she gave her life to the Lord. She got baptized this past year. She started bringing 2 friends from school. She's an 11th grade girl. She started bringing 2 friends from school who also gave their life to the Lord. One of them got baptized this year. And now that 11th grade girl is taking those 2 friends through a Bible study every single week. And so
I wish everybody would do that.
Yeah, right. But it's just awesome to see because I believe we're going to see that even more and more. And that's just going to spark a fire in our next gen here, in our youth, in our kids, our preschool, our young adults even. And so, yeah.
Well, I think it's cool too, just looking at the past few months, like how at the high school, we've done baptism services over the years, but we could only do them periodically. And it's like now all of a sudden I feel like God has expedited some things even in that regard, that we have people, we've had, I think, 22 baptisms just in the past few months since we've been in the building. And we have more on the way, which is really cool.
Yeah, one thing that really impacted me with those baptisms was seeing like parents baptize their kids. That just, such a picture of like the early church in Acts where like, people would give their lives to the Lord and then like their whole family would give their lives to the Lord and everyone would just get baptized. Like that was so powerful for me. And like seeing that on a Sunday, like you guys, the Magduals,
the Andres,
Brandon, it was just like,
cool.
That was so cool. So
the Lord's really moved the next gen this year. It's been awesome. Like I can think of like camp was huge. Just seeing all the kids there worshiping the Lord, and like the world's such a crazy place anymore, and you see these young kids and they're just on the floor worshiping God, giving their all to him. It's just so encouraging as an adult to see that. So yeah.
Shout out to our next gen team and our volunteers. Honestly, that's a big part of it too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that because this past year I got to worship at camp for the first time with Esty and Priscilla. And just what Aiden said, like just seeing the childlike faith is just so encouraging. And I feel like we can make it so complicated and feel like there's like an age requirement to like make a difference. But seeing those kids like literally just worshiping, and not just worshiping, they were worshiping together. Like the community in the room was just amazing to see. And it really encouraged me to just have more of like a childlike faith and just like trust in the Lord in the way that those kids were. And like there were kids coming up to me afterward being like, I want to worship like up there one day. And like just seeing like the kids just be so into it was just like amazing to see. And the kids in our church, like their futures are so bright.
Well, I feel like a lot of our adults could really learn, just get in the room at a kids camp and just see what happens on day 2 and 3 of camp when these kids are really worshiping and engaging and trying to participate in worship together and not caring about what's going on around them, which is really cool.
Well, Ava's story is one of so many, I think, adults and leaders that came to camp this year. We always say that camp is life-changing for the kids and the students that go to camp, but we had almost every single leader and adult that came back were like, I didn't realize how much God was going to change my life this week. And so I think your story is one of just a testament to so many others who my life was changed. I'm sure that your lives were changed in ways that God just every year does something incredible in those moments.
Well, it's one of those things too that you go into camp, and if you work and you're going as a leader, you're taking off work and you're doing all these different things and you have to make all these accommodations, and it definitely is a sacrifice that we want to be grateful for. But I think almost to a T, every single person that went, they would say they did not regret it one bit, that it was worth it and it was encouraging to them, which is, I think, just really, really cool, powerful.
So camp registration opens up soon. Make sure to sign your kids up.
No, but seriously, what's funny for me is I've never been to any Keystone camp before. I've always worked in an administrative role at Keystone. And so Tori was like, you have to just check out camp to see what it's about. And I did go this past year just for a day just to check it out. And I was so impacted by it. Like, I'm actually going to serve this year. And I'm really excited about that. So camp is definitely an amazing time for everyone.
And shout out to all the leaders and everybody who volunteered their time and effort and took the time from camp to further invest in kids. I have Hope, who took my daughter and one of her best friends through Foundations and is starting the discipleship journey with them. And whether or not they're really excited to go just to see one another, they also are learning a lot and diving into the Word, and they're really excited about it, which is awesome.
Well, I think one of the things that impacted me the most this year, and just one of the ways that I've seen God work that I've been able to be a part of, is through discipleship, and even just walking through a discipleship relationship with someone personally. And it's just cool, even the way that it came about, where it was kind of placed on her heart by God, and then also on my heart to reach out to her and ask her. And even just seeing the way that she has grown spiritually, like even just in the past few months. I mean, I didn't really know her super well, but just to see how God has grown her, how bold she is in her faith, like even just in her workplace, like even with people making fun of God, whatever, like she's just bold in who she is and in her faith, and that encourages me. So what's cool is, like, when you enter a discipleship relationship, obviously you are giving and you are kind of in that role, but you're also receiving too, because it's encouraging. You get to encourage each other. And even just this past week, she was letting me know that they've been praying about different areas in their life, like finances, and just for God to move in different ways, and been trusting him in their finances, and just even to hear the fruit of how he's already provided for them is just so cool. You know what I mean? And yeah, so I've just been really enjoying that, and just continuing on with that.
I think another awesome thing that came out of 2025 is we launched a youth group for our students here at Keystone, which has been huge. And so we'd been partnering with Montgomeryville for the past really like year and a half, until this past year in September we kicked off youth group. And so we've been meeting every single week with our students, and we're seeing leaders begin to disciple students within that. Students give their life to Christ, and so that's been awesome to kickstart that this year.
And what's crazy about that is student ministry was a long time ago for me, but I can still so distinctly remember my leaders pouring into me and having those conversations. And again, discipleship, doing life together, investing your time, into, I want to be intentional to pour into somebody else. I think is really cool. And I think that's one of the things that I've loved to see even over this past year, is as we've begun student ministry and as we've grown our other ministries, that we've seen a really good amount of people joining serve teams, jumping in and saying, I want to be about more than just spending my time doing my thing. I want to come to church not just to receive for myself, but I want to invest and pour into other people, which I think is so important. And you guys all have people that serve on your ministries. What are some cool things that you've seen on your serve teams this past year?
I think one of the cool things is just seeing families serve together, seeing husbands and wives, whether they're on different teams, and we have to coordinate schedules and make sure we schedule them on the right weeks and everything. But just seeing families serve together, and even kids serving in the kids ministry, and even just maybe their kids are young and they're not serving yet, but they just run around the lobby, and I just love that energy of we just love being at church. We love serving the church, and it's families doing it together.
Yeah, I think for me, as someone who is on the worship team, this year has felt really big in growing connection with our team. It was sometimes difficult at the high school to just build relationships because we were setting up and tearing down every week. There was a lot of things to do, technically. So it would be sometimes hard to just even sit down and just have a conversation outside of setting up. So this year has been really cool to just see our team of worship leaders be unified, and it's been exciting, and we're excited for this next year coming up, just to grow in that more?
I think one thing that's been really huge in our kids ministry this year is just like the influx of male leaders we've had. It's been really awesome to see just the strong male role models that have come in over the last year. Every kid, needs a father figure in their life, and it's awesome to have these leaders who, just love the Lord and want to lead these kids, to Him and all that they do. And so I think that's really awesome. Just the awesome amount of new male leaders that we have, and
It's kind of rare.
It really is. It
It's
really
kind of
is.
rare. Because I remember even in the kids ministry that I grew up in, it was mainly ladies, which is awesome. But yeah, in today's culture and generation, like to be able to have some solid guys who, honestly, you kind of want to be like, you think they're cool is really awesome, to have in our kids ministry.
I feel like it wouldn't be right without talking about our community engagement team, who shout out to Bree and Shannon, who have led that team. And just, I can't even share the stories that we've seen in that team and the events that have happened this year between the egg drop. We've got the back to school bash. Feel free to chime in here because I'm probably forgetting some of the big ones, but the fruit that has come from that. And I think fruit that probably we probably will never see, really. We probably won't see some of the fruit or the ways that lives were impacted through those events.
Honestly, shout out Amar. I hope you're watching right now. Amar, just came because he saw our table at Third Fridays, and it's just, again, it's a testament to we sow seeds, we plant seeds. We don't know where they're where we're going to see the fruit and all of that, but we want to go out and be a church that cares about our community, and then now we've had people coming. That's even one of my favorite stories this year, is just seeing people who would come to our community engagement events. They come to one event, and then all of a sudden you turn around, it's like our next event, they're here and they're serving and they're participating and they're engaging with it. Because it's one of the things our church has had the heart of, and we'll do crazy things like drop eggs out of a helicopter, in our community. But to see, over 2,000 people come through, it shows us that there is a hunger, there's a need, there's a desire for families to have something to do together. And if we can do that and infuse it with the hope of the gospel, that's where it's at. Yeah. That's where it's at for sure.
So one of the really cool things that I think was a highlight for me this year was seeing our community group that, for one, and back in 2018, to really throw it back, is when we basically Keystone North was birthed out of our community group. And then the beginning of this year, we were able to then multiply, and we have a set of leaders, Joe and Danielle, who decided hey, we can take this and we can run with it, and you guys, build something else up. And seeing some families come that really weren't connected at all, and then get connected and start growing in their relationship, take that next step to be discipled or get in a group of discipleship with other people. And then also seeing those same people take that next step in growth in prayer and praying out loud for community group and things like that normally are just not comfortable with because you just don't really know how to do it. So you just got to practice. So for me, I think that was just super encouraging for me personally, but also our entire group as a whole. I wanted to jump up off the couch that night and be yeah. But I think that would have made them feel more uncomfortable.
I think it was also cool seeing some of those new people in community groups go to community group and then literally weeks afterwards have the desire to serve. They jumped on some of our teams right away, which was so dope. And I think it's a testament for the connection that community group makes right away. People have the desire right after connecting to say, hey, this is an awesome place. I want to get involved. How can I get involved? And so, it was really cool to see.
And it's not always the easiest thing. I think we can all acknowledge that sometimes community group may not be the thing. I can't wait to go to community group, right? Where I got to organize my whole schedule this week around this. And I get it. There's seasons, there's things that happen. But I've just seen so much fruit. I've seen so much fruit from it in people having those connections that they wouldn't normally have. Even people that encourage me, that challenged me, and just people to do life with, I think is really cool.
Another highlight for me was the 21 days of prayer, which was kind of not something that we had planned in our schedule in our whole calendar for the year. But I think we were going at such a fast pace, and we were so energized and ready to get into this building. And God was like, hold on, we need to stop. We need to take a breath, and we need to come back to one of the most important parts, and that's just seeking his heart and having those nights of prayer and worship, or just prayer, or just smaller groups, or 50 people or whatnot. But I think something really special came out of that, and is going to continue to come out of that.
Yeah, I know for me, after those nights, it honestly just birthed a desire in my heart to see those kind of settings happen more, where we're worshiping and praying together outside of just a Sunday morning. And a cool opportunity that we had at the end of this year was having a young adult worship night. And it was the first time that we've ever really done something like that. And it was just an awesome time of just worshiping in more of an intimate setting. We were in the aux, and we just gathered for 2 hours and prayed and worshiped together. And I really believe the Lord wants to do something in our young adult community here at North. And I really think that it was just the beginning of that. So if you're a young adult and you're not plugged in, there actually are young adults at our church, which is awesome. That is a rare thing for a lot of churches. Just coming from experience, it's been a blessing to have like actual community of people our age and just getting plugged in and doing life together and walking in our faith together. So I'd really encourage you, if you don't have community and you're a young adult, to seek us out. We have monthly events and different times that we hang out. So yeah, it's been a blessing for me.
I love just getting here the stories of different people who have been impacted, touched this past year. And I hope that as you're sitting there watching, you can reflect on the ways that God has moved in your life. And I would also be remiss to say, there's a lot of people that maybe you're watching this, you've only been with us the last few months. And we would love just to continue bringing you in the journey of what God's doing here at Keystone North. And part of what encourages me so much about the future of our church is looking back on the short history of our church, that we can see time and time again where God has provided, where God has made a way, where God has brought the people that we needed, the resources we needed, the location that we needed, all of these different things. And that we can look and say, hey, in the short amount of time that our church has been in existence, that we've really seen God move. That I can talk to families, I can think of family after family after family who would say that this church, not us, but what God's doing through this church has changed their family, has changed their lives, has impacted them in such a positive way. And so I would love for all of us, as we're sitting here and we're like posturing, in this like position of remembrance and reflecting and recognizing all that God's done, to also put ourselves in the perspective of what can he still do next. And for some of you, that may look different this season. This coming year may be a year where you say, I've been sitting on the sidelines, or I've come to visit this church now a few times, and I like where they're at, or I like certain things, but maybe this is the season, this is the year, this is the moment where you decide to say, I'm jumping all in, that I'm committing, that I'm planting myself here, that I'm going to take roots here, and I'm going to get outside of my comfort zone, that I'm going to do things that may disrupt my calendar or my budget or my schedule or my priorities in order to see how I can be a part of what God's doing here at Keystone North. And so maybe today is even an opportunity for you to talk about it, think about it, pray about it, reflect on it. What can you do right now to surrender yourself to what God's plan is for you and your family? And we just want to praise God for all that he's done. He's been so faithful. He's been so good. For us to see as many baptisms as we've seen, for us to see as many people come to know Jesus as we've seen, for us to see him provide for the needs that we have, for him to be able to see in advance, all the things that we thought were going to be issues, that he turns it around and uses it for his glory. And we can't wait to see what's next in 2025.
Their crowns before the Lamb of God. of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. Oh, all the saints and angels, they bow before your throne. And all the elders cast their crowns before the Lamb of God and sing, you are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. Oh, you deserve the glory. You are worthy of it all. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. You deserve the glory. Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Day and night, night and day, let incense arise. Oh, day and night, night and day, you are worthy of it all. Oh, yes, you are, Lord. You are worthy of it all. For from you are all things, and to you are all things. Oh, you deserve the glory. You are worthy of it all. You are